It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears Up! Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ears Up podcast. We are doing a very special show. Eric, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If I was to ask you who the very first person was to ride Splash Mountain, who would you say? Do we think we know this factoid?
Well, I mean, are you talking about aside from bags of sand? Do those count as people?
Well, you know what? Maybe they. Well, actually, no. Probably not in this country. No.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's corporations and physical people. That's
okay.
All. It's everybody who has rights here.
Okay.
Bags of sand do not. Yeah. So no.
Well, then I'm stumped.
No clue. Taryn? Apparently. Here we go. Apparently, the very first person to ride Splash Mountain officially, this is canon now, was Ernest P. Worrell from, Ernest. Ernest goes to boot camp or whatever his movies were.
The first person. Yeah.
So to further our education on this, we decided to have the folks from Scraping the Vault, Audrey, Jimmy, and Danielson on the show to tell us all about this because this is their wheelhouse. This is what they do. They watch...
Splash Mountain is their wheelhouse?
Splash Mountain is their wheelhouse. So they're very sad. They're actually retiring the show now.
Are they Ernest historians?
They are. Yes, absolutely right. They man the canon. They write it. They sit like monks. They have a quill and they write down everything beat by beat, is what Jimmy said.
I could see Jimmy doing that.
I could see Jimmy doing that too. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show.
Hello. Are we here now?
We're here now.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Jimmy is muted.
Jimmy's doing reverse ventriloquism right now.
That's right.
There we go.
Here's the question.
Degrees on the wall behind him don't mean anything.
Thank you for having us. And is it Worrell or Worrell?
Well, I don't know. In the video, it sounded like
both.
Saying both. Yeah.
I think it's interchangeable.
Ernest himself says Worrell, but yeah, everybody else on the show is saying Worrell.
To keep on theme of our show, which has officially devolved into a Harry Potter podcast.
Nice.
Some people say Voldemort. Some people call it Voldemort. Which one is it?
Wait, what was the first one you said?
Voldemort or Voldemort?
Well, there's a T.
There's a T.
Yeah. They're just...
Yeah, but it's French. It means flight from death. Is what
I say Voldemort.
Yeah,
but British people don't always pronounce things the way that they should.
Oh, you ever heard him say churro?
Case in point.
Like I did a 12-minute supercut. It felt like of people on the Great British Baking Show saying churro, and it's churros.
Churros.
And it will destroy your mind if you go and watch it. It's by far the most popular piece of content I've ever made in my entire life.
It is brain melting.
Supercuts does take about 12 minutes. So, you go to Sport Clips and it's a little bit longer. They get a massage.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't have.
Yeah, but you get to watch sports, which I can't do anything unless I'm watching sports because I'm a baby.
That's true.
All right. I've got a business proposition for everyone in this room. It's a haircut place, but all they play is Disney movies. And we do it in 11 minutes. No massage.
Ooh.
Investors welcome.
There is a barbershop on Main Street at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, Audrey. It was called Dapper Dan's, and it is a barbershop where kids can get their first haircut.
All right. Well,
or adults.
Adults
want to get their first haircut and wait that long, they can also do that.
More morbidly, your last haircut.
Wow. It depends on what we are.
Is there a hat for that?
This reminds me. When I decided to finally accept that nature was being cruel to me and shave my head, I thought, it'd be really fun to go to the barber because I won't ever have a reason to go to a barber again, right? Because I'm going to maintain it.
Sure.
And I worded it in a way so I accidentally worded it in a way that implied that I was dying to the barber.
This is my last haircut.
I have another business proposition for everyone.
Another business proposition. Let's go.
Yeah, you get a really nicely ventilated wig. You go to a special effects makeup artist. You have them put you in a bald cap. on top of your real hair, and then you have the nice wig on top, and you say, "This is my last haircut ever. I'm shaving it all off." They shave off your hair, the wig, and then you rip off the bald cap, and you're like, "Gotcha! There's more hair under here. See how that flies."
You could have multiple wigs.
Oh, so good,
great.
like a nesting doll of hair wig.
I hope you like doing your job because you're going to do a lot of it.
And to keep doing it. Well, I love it. Well, these are all great ideas. We're going to call Shark Tank in a couple hours after we're done recording this. But I wanted to have you guys on to talk about this little gem that you sent. Ernest goes to Splash Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea this thing existed. I wouldn't necessarily call myself like a big Ernest head. If Sam was here, Bev's husband, he would, whatever. Say however he sounds.
He doesn't speak English.
Ernest is cool.
He's a puppet.
Used to rent his videos. Taryn used to rent Ernest videos, I suppose.
I thought I was actually a really big Ernest fan until I didn't realize he had a last name, and it seems like everybody else on here knew his last name. So thinking I'm not as big a fan as I thought.
Yeah. So, considering the fact that Tiana's Bayou Adventure, where we go to Food Max and get bulk spices for Tiana to use in the kitchen, that's going to be opening in Disney World soon, and apparently Disneyland at some point.
Already open.
It's open in Disney World. You're right, not at Disneyland. I was confusing the two. I know not to get my dates wrong on this show when you guys are on.
Different show.
Yeah. I wanted to bring you guys on to talk about this because it is sort of like a neat little window into the not only the history of Splash Mountain, but the marketing behind Splash Mountain and all the weird vibes. That's all I can really say. Vibes on this little, what was it, a 20-minute, something like that? Made
Roughly
for TV
20 minutes,
thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Jason, I'm glad to see that Asher is in the studio. Could you see if he wants to say something to us?
Yeah, for sure. Asher, here, come here for a second.
Asher, it's been so long. How you doing, bud?
One time my sister started on Splash Mountain. A tin of listeners may catch that this is something of a narrative thread in my ongoing story.
It is. I'm glad he caught on to that.
If I had a nickel.
I sure appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
You see, she also sharded on Thunder Mountain. That's yeah.
Oh, I'm having Asher clean my bathroom, and I don't know if that's
you're not a part of the Asher universe.
Yeah, I guess not. So let's get into it, Jimmy. I wanted to specifically bring you on because not only are you good at going through the direct to release at home movies, but you also are a show on the EarzUP network, and I appreciate that very much. So not only do I want to bring you on to talk about that, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about the show, about this. I guess it's a show, movie. I don't know what it is. And skit, performance,
art.
Yeah, sure.
I think art.
An event. It's a happening.
An event film. Yeah, so it's 22 minutes, and that's traditionally a 30-minute television program with commercial breaks. Take the commercial breaks out, it's 22 minutes of glory.
Yeah.
And Taryn, not only does Ernest have a last name, he also has a middle name.
Okay. Wow.
It is Ernest P. Worrell. Now, hold on. Ernest pronounces it Worrell, but Mr. Story, who is an actual news anchor, by the way, not his birth name, we'll get to that later. He says Worrell. I think everybody else says Worrell. The P, Taryn, stands for Power Tool. It is Ernest Power Tool Worrell. Now, here is what I'm going to posit to this group.
Okay.
That's like the E standing for entertainment in Chuck E. Cheese.
Exactly.
Wow, yeah.
So Ernest Power Tool Worrell is constantly talking to an invisible being named Vern. This is his neighbor, best friend, Vern. And we are, as viewers of Ernest's work, we are Vern.
We are sometimes Vern.
Yeah, he's talking to us. Now, is this not a proto Tim the Toolman Taylor who is speaking to his unseen neighbor, Wilson? Is Ernest P. Worrell not the proto Tim the Toolman Taylor?
Oh,
I think you're on.
Sorry, my microphone's attacking my face.
Are you generally a conspiracy theorist?
No, not at all.
Okay. That's what this feels like.
Listeners of the show Scraping the Vault would know that Jimmy is absolutely not into conspiracies.
Nothing can stop what is coming.
Jimmy is not.
Is
No.
here.
Dan, however,
What?
Well, they both have the term tool in them. I would say that Wilson does exist. You can see the
He
top
does.
part of his face.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, he presumably has a mortgage and pays taxes,
Yeah.
property taxes.
I mean,
and
he
stuff
at
like
least
Yeah.
has
So does Vern. Vern has a car that ends up in his kitchen.
that. True.
But do we know that that's his car?
Do you ever see Vern?
No. Classically, that's the gag, right? You never
Well,
see Vern. You just-
That's right. But that's why I say proto, right? Like it's sort of the origins of Tim the Toolman Taylor.
I feel like Vern is like the character version of the word Smurf. It's just kind of whatever
Oh,
he
interesting.
needs Vern to be.
That is fan smurfing-tastic.
Yeah. He's the widget.
No need to be dirty on this show, Jim.
Sorry.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, so how do we start this? What do we have to do here to get into the minds of children everywhere in 1989 watching the Disney Channel?
Well, I'll start. So first of all, Scraping the Vault, the show being on this network, we traditionally have gone in order of release, the straight-to-video Disney sequels, starting with Return of Jafar, ending with the Tinkerverse. The last 7 movies were Tinkerbell movies, right? Before
And
they
you guys
stopped
are
doing.
you guys are still alive. You've recovered. You've made it.
We
The,
take breaks, Jason.
the-
We take long breaks.
The urgent care near you is just has a special door for you to walk into now.
That's right.
We
We're
have
about to.
yet to be consumed by the Tinkerverse.
That is correct. We are about to do
Yes.
Little Mermaid 3. But then we go into the Tinkerverse, and then after that, we're going on to the the live action remakes of Disney animated features. So
Let me add another thread to that. What also tends to happen on this show is that Jimmy will convince himself that he likes these terrible movies.
Yes.
I will very often be sure that there's no possible way anybody could. And Audrey will usually have some sort of objective, like, yeah, what do you expect? I liked some parts of it, some parts were silly. And then Eric, what usually happens?
I mean, it's just, the entertainment comes from Audrey and Dan doing their bits and Jimmy getting, frustrated that he can't finish telling all of the facts that he has in his brain.
So Jimmy is a parent both off mic and on mic.
Indeed.
Sorry, Jimmy.
It is okay. I'm trying to be the avatar for the audience, and like the audience, my head gets hit against the wall often. So
I'm
what
the
happens
audience.
on a typical episode is that Dan will share with us what was in the zeitgeist, what was going on in the year of release of that particular movie, in this case, 1989. So Dan will share that. I'll go through the plot, and then we'll talk about, we can talk about the origins of Scraping the Vault, but we don't need to. So then we go through the plot, and then I will give a good beer pairing that works well with this film. Audrey will give a food pairing that goes well, and then Dan will give a music pairing, or maybe listen to this instead of watching that.
Okay.
And when Eric is on the show, he has a drug pairing, a
That's correct.
pharmaceutical pairing.
Indig.
He's
Yeah.
a pharmacist.
It'd be just like watching a commercial right now. Semioxynoxacin. I don't know, man. These weird names.
Oh,
You know
I would
what I
never pick
found-
semioxynoxacin for this.
Well, no, it's the side effects are too numerous.
Speaking of side effects, Jason, I was watching a commercial about a new drug. Like, this is a new drug, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is some of the side effects, it says, don't take this drug if you are allergic to this drug.
To the drug.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
where we're at.
How would I know?
That's where we're at as a society. Is we have to
Litigious
be told,
society.
This might hurt you, so don't take it if it will hurt you.
That's right.
Yeah.
But how would I know? It's brand new.
I've
Anyway.
had a thought.
Again,
Tinkerverse. Ernest Power Tool Worrell.
Mhm.
enters
Tom the
the
Tool
Tinkerverse.
Man. Tool, Tinker, Power Tool, Tinker.
Oh my God.
all coming together.
Going, yeah.
There's your
Wow.
free conspiracy theory.
I love it.
Well, I can
right.
offer some context about Splash Mountain.
Do it.
What it was, what it became, and what happened to it. Go ahead and roll that context music, Jason. Splash Mountain was a ride beloved by many, a ride that we want to, in our own special way, pay tribute to by honoring also Ernest P. Worrell. Splash Mountain was conceived, some might say haphazardly, as a log ride that Breck Eisner, famed Imagineer Breck Eisner, wanted to ride at Disneyland.
Famed teen.
Yes.
Imagineer.
His father, Michael Eisner, thought, that's a good idea. You're a teen. I want to appeal to teens. Let's make a ride for teens. And so they did. And they based it on every teenager's favorite property, favorite Disney property, that is, Song of the South, a movie that the company had been actively avoiding any reference to at that point, because many people, rightfully or wrongly, considered it to be kind of racist in some way.
At the time, it wasn't even here. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. This is normal.
It wasn't even like a thing that they were actively promoting. It's like they had T-shirts and bunny rabbits and stuffies and, you know, cartoons or whatever. They weren't even pushing it.
They were it was already deep inside the vault and locked away forever.
Well, it was in the theaters earlier on in the 80s, but
oh, sure. But a lot of things were happening early on in the 80s as well. You know.
Okay. I just want to clarify that.
No, that's
it was
fine.
Nowhere near bubbling up to the surface.
Well, no, but even at the time, they were aware of like, this might not be the best idea, but let's just make it about the cartoon characters, which at the time made perfect sense.
Okay, sorry. Here, continue.
No, okay, you're good. And then time happened. The passing of time blew across this ride in so many different ways. People's opinions changed. The world changed. And the ride itself began to fall apart. So Disney said, hey, let's fix this thing that's falling apart. And by the way, maybe we should get rid of the kind of maybe racist stuff. And then they turned it into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And the internet loved that idea very much.
Oh, sure.
The end.
All right. Good job.
And in 1989, the Walt Disney Company, through partnership of Ernest P. Worrell, made
P. Worrell Corporation.
That's right. His name is, I think, David Cherry is something. He's a Nashville-based producer, but Ernest got his origins with TV commercials. He was a TV personality, ads, etc. before the Ernest goes to camp, goes to jail, etc. In 1989, Ernest went to Splash Mountain. Now, Audrey, do you know what you thought this movie was going to be before you watched it?
Nope, I had no idea. I expected Ernest to do some wacky things and to speak in his weird affectation-y way. And I was honestly procrastinating a little bit on watching it. And then I was like, how long is this thing going to be? And I clicked on the YouTube link and I was like, it's only 22 minutes. Hot dog. So then I watched it.
That was pretty much my thought process on it too. Because like I said, Ernest he's one of those, he's like a friend to everybody, but a friend that you can take in very small micro doses.
It's a good way to put it.
And then you're like, yeah, I get it, buddy. This is okay. It's like a Don Knotts movie. It's like, can we cut this up, please, into tiny 1 minute particles every hour, and then I can watch a little bit.
That's a good point. It's like if a Don Knotts character were the main character.
Yeah,
that's very well put.
A lot.
The apple dumpling.
I know who Don Knotts is.
That's right, founder of Knott's.
That's
Very
right.
fun.
Knotts.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so and by the way, Ernest would be a perfect spokesman for Knott's Berry Farm.
He absolutely would.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
those are
I could see that.
He has Knott's Berry Farm vibes.
He is
Jim Varney.
Knott's Berry Farm personified. This man.
Gone too soon.
Yes. Which part? Knott's Berry Farm or
both?
Don Knotts. Okay. So here's what happened. I'm going to speak to you, Taryn.
Okay.
as our audience. All right.
Great. Please do.
Let me share with you what happened to Ernest.
Hold on.
This
First, thank her for
day.
listening. Thank her for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, there you
Thank
go.
you for listening.
We
Tell-
open.
Tell her to join the Patreon.
Join the Patreon. Like and subscribe.
Mhm.
Concierge.com.
And what other
856
podcasts might she want to listen to on the network?
But no, that's the end, Dan. That's at the
Okay,
end.
sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Dan's ready to go.
So we open with Ernest one fateful day. He's waking up his neighbor, Vern, and he's announcing to Vern that today is the day, the fateful day where Ernest will go down in the history books. He will be in those thick history books, and he'll be answers to some questions in the future, like below the equator and none of the above. He'll be with answers.
He's the answer to with none of the above.
That's right.
Have I ever told you guys about my high school teacher who used to do multiple true false questions?
No.
Oh
This
my
isn't-
God.
This isn't the one that I do an uncanny impersonation of, is it? The old lady?
No,
Okay.
that's a different teacher. No, this
Okay.
guy, quick tangent. So he used to have, we were studying like ancient history, and he'd have like a statement like the Colosseum was built in A, Rome, B, Italy, C, China, D, all of the above. So like multiple, like some
But
of them
the
were
A
true.
and B could both be true.
Right. Some of, or it was true, false, Rome, true, false, Italy, true, false, China, true, false,
Wow.
all of the above. So you're like, so you had to circle the true or circle the false. And this happened a lot. We'd have to go over the test at the end of the class. And he would throw out like half the questions because he's like, okay, I guess that wasn't really worded properly. It was so annoying.
Oh my God.
So this person took what should have been just one multiple choice question and turned it into like 15 true false questions.
You overthought it.
Exactly.
Definitely
Yeah.
overthought the.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah. So welcome to Scraping the Vault, everybody. Okay, so that we then cut to a special news report by Splash Mountain News Central. Okay.
Which
Now-
appears to be its own network, by the way.
That's correct.
Yep.
Splash Mountain News Central is a network, and its anchor is Ralph Story, who is an actual person. Okay.
Anchor, because water.
Oh, I see what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Ernest P. Worrell, or Worrell, he is the first splastronaut. Taryn, he's the first
Hold
splastronaut.
on. Whirlpool.
Oh, that's good.
Whirlpool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Ralph Story says today is a day like Neil Armstrong. This man is our first splastronaut. So he compares Ernest, rightly so, to American heroes like Neil Armstrong, Buzz
Sure.
Aldrin, etc.
He also
Yeah,
seemed
absolutely.
to have compared Neil Armstrong, who was a person, to a day.
Well, guys, also the moon landing was faked. Splash Mountain's a real thing.
That's fair.
That's what
Good
they
point.
have you think. That's why they've turned it into something else.
Yeah. Have you ever been on Splash Mountain, Audrey? I didn't think so.
I've never been to the moon, and I know Splash Mountain is real. So
Not anymore.
That's true. Okay, so Ralph Story, who he's a news anchor, so I'm like Dallas Raines, Southern California people will know that name. He's the weatherman.
Still alive and still looks like he's 35. It's amazing what
So
science can
Ralph
do.
Story turns out not his actual name. His actual birth name is Ralph Bernard Snyder.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
But because he's a news anchor, he's Ralph Story. Okay. So now we cut to Cameron Chronomeyer. He's a field anchor who never takes his finger out of his ear the whole time. You know, the whole like newscaster thing, finger in his ear.
I
You guys
did not
remember this?
notice that.
Yeah.
He never took his finger out of his ear while he's reporting in front
Push
of
the
him.
earpiece in to really
That's
hear his own voice.
Or maybe he got training from the same place that the Gibb brothers got their vocal training, because they never took their finger out of their ear either.
Yeah.
He was trying to get some pirate's water out of his ear the whole time.
Because he obviously hadn't been on Splash Mountain, because Ernest is in fact the very first.
Right.
Okay, so he never takes his finger out of his ear, but he says that he's covered inaugurations and Super Bowls But this event has captured the world's attention unlike anything before. Ernest will be the first person to ride Splash Mountain.
Yes. Which good for him. I mean, I can't think of anybody better.
And Jason, just so we're clear about how we open the show.
Yeah.
Thus far, testing had only been done with empty logs and sandbags. So in 1989, sandbags were people.
So
I don't know.
Jim Varney was in actual danger, is what you're telling us.
That's correct. Because
Okay.
there's
Sandbag
no human.
lives matter.
That's right.
God. I'm not touching that one.
So Cameron, our finger in the ear anchor, says that testing had thus far been done with sandbags and empty logs. If Ernest is successful, he will be a legend. And he says if he's not successful, he will become a part of the mountain. So what Cameron is intimating here is that if he fails, he will be smashed and effectively be smashed into the actual mountain. So
left there, abandoned.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
well,
right.
started
Very dark.
No recovery team for this incident.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's either
Yeah.
he makes it through or he is a part of the mountain and we
They
move
started
on.
work on Tiana's, and his desiccated corpse was right behind one of those gators singing.
Oh, we could just animate this.
Those briars are sharp, people. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so Cameron has not been able to yet talk to Ernest because he is currently at the Daredevil training facility that is run by his best friend Vern.
I like that we're getting a backstory as people who are the unwilling co-stars of this show.
Mhm.
I'm glad that we own something, that we have an interest.
And what piqued my interest is that, like, is this adding to the Ernest canon?
Yeah.
Do we know that Vern, before this, do we know that Vern runs a Daredevil camp?
I know. No, this is
I'd
additional
never-
to the canon.
This is new. This is new stuff.
That's right.
This.
Well, it seems like kind of a big deal too to own a Daredevil.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. That's
No.
really interesting to add to his panoply of jobs.
Now, Taryn, we're going to get into the various tests that are performed at this Daredevil training facility.
Right.
First of all,
Yeah,
the
it sounds
first
impressive,
test,
by the way.
the first test is a tire swing, Taryn.
Okay.
And Ernest has twisted the tire so taut that he is going to test centrifugal forces, or what does he call them? He calls them the
Whiz forces.
Gee whiz
Gee whiz
forces.
forces, yes.
He's going to, so first of all, he tests the gee whiz forces by tightening this tire so taut that when he sits in it and releases, he is going to spin so fast that he'll be able to test the gee whiz forces. The second thing I'd like to point out here, Ernest Jim Varney is from Kentucky. All of the things that have been produced are basically produced in Nashville, Tennessee. There is no way that this training facility is anywhere near Southern California. For those of you who live in the South, there's kudzu on the trees, right? Kudzu is native to, so they're native to Japan, China, and the Indian subcontinent.
Super invasive, like lettuce.
Super invasive.
species,
Yeah, they
right?
call them what is it called? The foot a night plant, because they grow so fast. It has invaded the South. So this thing was either filmed in Tennessee, Japan, China, or the Indian subcontinent. In any event, he is not going to get to Disneyland in a few minutes. Okay. No. How are we to believe that this training center is anywhere near Southern California?
Good point.
Thank you.
The Splash Mountain ride was faked.
See, that's what I'm saying, Audrey. That's all I'm saying.
Can't believe
The South was faked. Maybe it was all done on the back lot somewhere.
See,
It will.
Documentary. So this is big news.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, the South will rise again, and we'll get
Like
into that
loose
later.
This is the
you might be right,
2,000 mules of the Disney sphere.
That's right. Okay, so back to the news broadcast, everybody, where Ralph Story tells us that Ernest's ride will be testing the limits of human endurance and human ingenuity.
Waiting in line sure did. I'll tell you that.
Well, he didn't have to wait in line.
I know,
He was the
but I mean,
first.
that's what I mean. Like the ride, maybe, I don't know, but waiting in line definitely tests your endurance.
Speaking of testing the limits of human endurance, Jason, I believe I can see that Asher wants to say something.
Yeah. Okay. Asher, here, come here for a second.
He's
Sorry.
been so patient.
My new mom has difficulty saying bio due to her thick Russian accent.
It's a problem. I understand that.
Oh,
Okay.
Bayou. Oh, okay.
Bayou.
It would be hard
Well,
with a thick
he
Russian
has a hard
accent.
time with Bayou too.
Yeah.
Now, Jason, is that your
How
sister?
do you like your new mom?
He's asleep again.
Sorry.
But I mean, if he has other thoughts, then
This guy seems cool. Is there a movie in which he plays basketball as a major plot point? I think that would be great.
there is actually Asher. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh wow, I didn't see. Taryn, did you see that one?
No, I don't remember that one.
Ernest head, she says. Okay, so we then cut to Marjorie Hastings Hardwick, who is another field reporter, where she
What a
explains. Yeah, so this is a nice little promotional piece.
Also, my favorite congressperson, by the way.
Marjorie Hastings Hardwick.
Yes.
She was actually filming in Southern California. But anyway, so she explains that this ride is based on the animated portions. She was very clear to say the animated portions. Of
Oh yeah, they made it was already just a little bit there, you know.
very clear about it being
not the other stuff.
The marketable bits with
Yeah.
animals. This is appealing to the furry crowd of the 80s, late 80s.
She points out that this is, again, the animated portions of the 1940s hit Song of the South, and that designers have created the perfect simulation to bring these beloved characters to life. And she mentioned the longest flume ride ever built at 87 feet tall. This mountain is 87 feet tall.
Did she say that, or did you just want to throw that in to show
She
that
said
you
that.
knew that? Okay.
She did say that.
Okay. Just checking.
I don't say anything on the show that was not said by someone on TV.
Okay.
Okay, so
That's a good model to live by.
That's right.
His job.
That's right. So then we get back to Ernest at the training facility. Now at this point, this first test, tire swing, gee whiz force, right, Taryn? The second test is Ernest doing pull-ups.
Mhm.
Okay. So Ernest is doing pull-ups. I think he's on pull-up number 238 when we cut to him. And then he then shows his aptitude by putting his feet on the pull-up bar. So he has his hands on the pull-up bar and his feet on the pull-up bar. And then he starts to do crunches while his feet are on the pull-up bar. And then he
doesn't
falls
get
down.
very far. Yeah.
He does not get very
It is,
far.
I mean, it is really important to be very fit if you're going to sit in a boat. So
That's correct.
Yeah.
makes
Well,
sense.
and like Eric said, he doesn't get very far, but I tell you what, he got farther than I would.
That's good. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. One is better than none.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's true.
By definition.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you're
Unless the one is a bad thing, then it's not better. Just so we're clear.
Or if it's binary, I guess. Zeros and ones,
I,
right?
don't know, I was thinking more about your teacher that made those questions when I said that.
Oh,
Audrey.
God.
Now I don't want to. I hate to like bring the whole like Hollywood magic. I don't want to like spoil it for everyone, but those aren't his feet.
What?
How did they do that?
Are they Vern's
Cam-
feet?
Probably Vern's, but they're not his feet. I don't think he's actually pulling up. I don't believe he could have done 238 pull-ups, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. After he's done doing his one crunch, then we go back to the news broadcast, okay? And we cut to Skip Binkman, who is a feature reporter in the belly
Fake
of the
name.
mountain. Skip Binkman?
That
think?
can't be real.
No.
Audrey, you clearly did not grow up around Los Angeles news television.
Nope. I might have been conceived the year this came out.
As a
Oh,
result of
really
it?
know.
Well, it depends. I was born in 1990, so 89.
is Ernest your father?
Have you seen them together in the same room before?
I mean, wow. I gotta go ask my dad.
Hey, listen, you have some very expressive facial features.
Here's my best Ernest impression. I'm Audrey. Yes, good.
Spitting image. I think you are related.
I think today's a great day to ride a water fluke.
It's uncanny. It's
Yeah.
It's like all of my impersonations. Uncanny.
I blacked out for a second. What happened?
No. Know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
Okay, so Skipping Fin's in the belly of the mountain. Now, this I thought was kind of cool because he is in the pumping station where the 500,000 gallons of water per day are cycled through the ride. He then drops his clipboard into the water.
I really thought you were going to say he then drops his pants. The dumbest part of my brain was absolutely
that was the director's cut, Dan. The director's cut.
Even though I've seen this.
So, did anybody notice that he dropped his clipboard in the water while watching?
Yeah. I wondered how much damage that would do.
Exactly. Like that's the only thing.
Like, why would they let him do this?
Yeah. Like
string, maybe they could fish it out or what?
Well, there's filters all over, I'm sure, but still, what a pain in the butt for a bad joke.
Yeah.
Well, also, as something that is supposed to be kind of an advertisement, it really kind of communicates to a potential park goer that, like, yeah, stuff falls in there all the time.
Yeah. You may got hit by a clipboard when you're on the ride.
You know, maybe we can talk about it later, but I was noticing, towards the end when they actually, like, spoiler alert, when he goes down the friggin' ride, I'm like, this is kind of billed as very terrifying, and we don't know if he's going to survive or not.
Yeah, it is.
What am I going to do? Go on that now?
But listen, Jason, you were a little kid when this came out. Were you not terrified of this ride?
I mean, that's a big assumption that I had a loving, parental support system that would take me to Disneyland.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And you still don't.
No.
I was kind of afraid of.
I was afraid of it.
I think I was afraid of it to some extent.
But here's
Eric.
You're always just afraid of the drop. You're not afraid of the
Yeah, that's it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's just the drop.
Yeah.
I didn't see this until a lot later. I don't remember seeing this in 89.
No, I don't mean the
know if
movie. I mean the ride. Were you not terrified of that drop when you were a kid?
No, I loved it.
Oh, well.
I think. I mean, there were much more terrifying drops at Six Flags. They had a similar flume ride that was basically you just go up around a corner and then come back down.
Eric is basically the MK Ultra agent of the show, where he just, give him a code and he does the thing and he goes, I don't remember anything. I don't know what's going on.
I think the only thing that I had any fear about was more like an insane fear that, like, those spikes might accidentally hit me, the briar patch.
Oh yeah, totally.
Don't put up your arms. Yeah.
And again, the dumb brain part was like, didn't take into consideration that, like, they probably made it so that wouldn't happen.
Probably.
It happened though.
And then your dad takes you to the exit of the ride and says, Dan, do you see anybody decapitated coming off the ride?
No, we had already developed a more complicated relationship.
I see. 89. Okay, so now we're back to Ernest. Okay, now he's presumably back at the training facility. Now he's in front of a chalkboard with a chalk illustration of Splash Mountain. Now he reminds himself, if not us, that water runs downhill, not up.
Right.
So when he lands at the bottom of the mountain, he will land on his feet.
Which is
Makes
classic.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
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 Because the justification for landing on your feet is that water runs that way.
That's correct.
So, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
What else runs? Feet. Feet run.
True.
Water runs. So
Noses run.
America runs on
barely.
Duncan.
Yeah.
Maybe he's implying that he's a kitty cat.
Could be 9 lives. Mm-hmm.
How many movies has he done? Add them up.
If I'm going to look it up right now, as a matter of fact.
get out your pencils now.
So, Taryn, this is a chalkboard, and he's writing on this chalkboard with a piece of chalk, which he then drops. Rather than bending down to pick up the chalk, he decides to use the pen that's in his pocket. So he starts writing on the chalkboard with a pen.
You're not supposed to do that.
No, you're not. But you can imagine how annoying writing with a pen is on a chalkboard. He says, isn't that annoying? It's almost like, and he takes his fingernails and he runs it down the chalkboard, not for a second, Taryn, for multiple seconds.
This goes on way too long.
It just goes on and on. We watched it as a family last night, and my wife literally yelled out loud the entire duration of the scratch, so we couldn't hear it because it was so annoying.
It was very bad, and I didn't like it at all. I got a very visceral reaction to it.
You know what it was like, Jason? It was like nails on a chalkboard. Oh, that's where that
Oh.
came
Big
from.
womp, little womp. Would you like to hear it? I have that queued
Oh
up.
no!
Oh,
Taking the earbuds off.
I'll play it.
You
I'll
got any
listen
more
to it.
chalk? Never
I
mind.
won't.
I'll just use this pen. It was awful, wouldn't it,
Nothing.
Fern? Kind of reminds you of this, don't it?
Oh, he does it.
I'm immune.
But
Yeah, I'm so glad you can't hear it. It's great. I'm sure the listener just heard it, so I apologize on Jason's behalf.
I only just realized how similar he sounds to Sam.
Yeah.
Like, so
Is that
much.
what Bev's husband sounds like?
Yes.
Literally, yes.
That's the joke.
I did
Yeah.
not ever realize.
Hey,
I
Bev.
didn't realize that.
Yeah. He's a cross between Ernest and a South Park character.
I have development on the possible 9 lives connection.
The
Oh.
theory. All right.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Ernest goes to camp.
Yep.
Ernest goes to jail.
Yep.
Ernest scared stupid.
Yep.
Ernest saves Christmas.
Yep.
Ernest goes to school.
Yep.
Ernest goes
Love
to
that one.
Africa.
Okay.
Ernest and the family.
Okay.
Ernest rides again.
Okay.
Slam dunk Ernest.
Is that 9?
That's 9.
That
Because
is
then after that,
9.
Ernest gets emphysema and dies of cancer in 2000.
No.
Jesus. Now we also have the Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain, but that's not an official release. That's a promotional thing. There's also Hey Vern, It's My Family, which doesn't have Ernest in the title. That's kind of just what I'm going with.
Mhm.
And then The World as I See It, which has no implication of Ernest in it. And then the only possible toss-up is the Ernest Film Festival, which
Mm.
might be a compilation of all of his most amusing antics, but it might also be its own movie.
Who else is going to watch Ernest Saves Christmas tonight after we're done? I'm gonna.
I'm sure you are.
I'm totally gonna. Okay, so Taryn, we're back to the training facility where Ernest is in a pool, in a swimming pool, complete with floaties on his arms. And he has water skis on his feet, and he is holding on to a water ski rope. That rope is attached to a pack of sled dogs. And those sled dogs are going to pull him.
Sorry, just an update, Jimmy. The Ernest Film Festival is, in fact, a collection of his hilarious antics and hijinks from previous commercials. So we're at 9.
Wow. Now,
Mhm.
is it Ernest Film Festival with an A? These are genuine films.
You know what? I already closed my laptop and I don't
Okay.
want to open it again, but it's a good question.
All right. Anyway, I don't know how the sled dogs pulling Ernest through a pool are going to help him with the Splash Mountain, but
Oh, did I miss being able to make the water sports joke?
Yeah, you sure did.
Okay,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not going to go back and do it. No, it's fine.
We just finished.
Okay, the joke that I was planning was going to be, you mentioned that Ernest talks about the water sports training, and then it's implied that Ernest, anyway, fill in your own joke, audience. I missed it. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm
Really
glad
want-
you referenced it.
I don't get it.
Water sports is a possible double entendre for a thing people enjoy doing involving
We can talk about it at the break.
not
We'll-
water.
We'll educate Jimmy.
Splash Mountain
Okay.
water.
Thank
Yes.
you. I don't get it. Is it like waterboarding?
Oh God.
I
Because some
suppose in
people like that.
very weird cases it
It
might
could
be.
be. All right. So what else?
Okay. See, that's the show, Jason. They mention things I don't understand.
Yeah.
I ask follow-up questions, and Dan says Google it or don't.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to get away from.
Usually how it works. Okay. So
The
now
latter part of it.
my favorite part of the special
Yeah.
is we cut back to Marjorie. All right.
Mhm.
Now Marjorie is now interviewing.
She's outside the mountain going, "Turn, you need to turn it."
All right, a different 3 named Marjorie. This is
Oh, okay,
Marjorie
sorry.
Hastings Hardwick. Okay.
Sorry.
So we're back to Marjorie. This is my favorite part of the special. She's interviewing Bruce Gordon, who's an actual Imagineer. Now, he's the show producer for Splash Mountain. Now, I, too, like yourself, Jason, and probably Eric, and maybe if she'd watched it, Taryn, is that we were all hoping for Tony Baxter, right?
Of
Famously, you know.
That's what I
So I
assumed.
guess,
Or Commissioner Gordon.
but we got Bruce Gordon. Now, the best part about this is that Marjorie is asking Bruce Gordon some very elaborate questions. And just as he's about to answer, he gets one word out and she takes the mic back and continues basically answering for him. I laughed out loud. I thought it was very funny.
I also
Anybody
laughed
else?
out loud.
It is an actual funny joke.
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty clever. You want to hear one?
Yeah.
By with Disney Imagineer and the producer of that spectacular ride, Bruce Gordon.
Thank you, Ralph. Well, Bruce, we're nearing the big moment, and you must be nervous because as the show producer, you are responsible for everything a guest sees, feels, smells, and experiences when they go into an attraction. Isn't that right?
That's right. There's a tremendous amount of...
We're going to be showing the folks at home some of those lavish scenes. And
The first one is so impeccably timed, and the rest of them are just as well timed, but not as good as the first one.
Not as good. But then he learns, and when she asks him questions later, it's one word answers and silence.
Yes, and you know what? I didn't like that as much.
Not as much, no. But it was very funny.
Continued the joke, but it was then he kind of got self-aware, and they got self-aware of it. And I have a feeling it was more of a corporate thing. Going, we can't have our people looking dumb.
Perhaps.
You know what I mean? That's the vibe that I got. Where it's like, okay, yeah.
So the next scene I'd like for the rest of the panel here to help explain to me. Okay. Because now we cut to Skip, our buddy Skip, who dropped his clipboard, I think, is now on a bench. Okay. He's in a bench pointing out a new house that was built in Critter Country. Now, I think the purpose of this segment,
he's going to throw the house into the water is what's going to happen.
With his clipboard.
It's a houseboat now.
He's trying to get the house to go fetch the clipboard.
He's a big dummy.
So he's sitting on a bench, and I think the purpose of this segment is to tell the audience, the people, that this is no longer Bear Country, it's Critter Country.
Yeah.
I think that was the purpose. But what happens after he starts talking is that a child comes and stares at him. Okay?
Yeah.
For way too long. Yeah. And then people just start walking in frame. They're just walking through, and then some grandpa comes and takes a picture of them. And I don't understand this segment. Can anyone explain what the filmmakers were thinking with this?
I got it. He's a ghost.
And they couldn't see him.
No, the kid could.
Why isn't he on the Haunted Mansion ride then?
That's because he doesn't know he's dead. He has an unfinished business.
Union specified. Taking a break.
My theory is that they did this to drive the hammer, drive the nail, to further the point that this is a fake news.
The hammer.
To Ernest Power Tool Worrell, the fact that this is not a real, because if it were a real newscast, they'd like hold people back, but the whole thing is a joke. So of course they're like,
whoa.
I honestly think
it's a real promotional video, but the newscast part of it is part of the farce.
But Ernest isn't watching this.
Okay, so my honest, non-bit answer is I think what they intended to convey with that is hey, scaredy pants parents or children, we have this place that you can hang out and no one will stare at you other than this child who's extremely rude.
Why do parents need a bench to sit at and not be seen?
Because they're old and they don't like full, cool, fun things like kids do. Kids like Asher.
There is a running theme, Taryn, throughout this is any parents who are squeamish, close your eyes during this part because it's a scary ride, only made for kids kind of thing.
Okay.
Because that was back when it was just parents are dumb, kids are cool.
Yeah. Late 80s.
Steal your grandma's pills and sell them at school for extra money to go to Disneyland.
That's right.
You know what? Watching it, it just kind of seemed like one of those kind of classic TV news anchor bits where people just are oblivious to what's going on around them. That's all. Yeah. That's all I really got. But it seemed more like an advertisement to not go to Disneyland because it was so big.
Yeah.
You couldn't even see the guy. And I'm like, there's so many, I haven't been in years, right? That scene where the people are walking by. I'm like, I get nervous. There's too many people in the little square for me. I don't want to go. Why would I go? Why would I go and sit and do that?
Yeah. But Jason, if you were to go back, how would you plan it?
I wouldn't.
Oh.
But if you wanted to go back, I would tell you to go to Concierge.
Oh.
You go to concierge.com, send yourself an email, and then answer yourself from a different email address.
Great.
Yeah, that's what
I've done it.
I was just going to say, I feel like have you tried this?
I'm my only client so far.
Hell yeah. I love it.
Anyway.
He's our number 4 seller.
856 our ears. Okay. So
let's take a break. We're going to take a quick break, everybody. We're going to come right back. We're going to learn more about how Ernest actually did on the ride. Did he survive? Was this the thing that ended him? We don't actually really know. So hang on for one. It's Ears Up. We'll be right back.
Back to Ears Up, where the opinions never stop. Ever.
All right. Thanks for hanging on, everybody. We are back. We're going to dive into Splash Mountain again.
Oh, God.
Well, and by we mean Ernest.
This is the point where this has all been leading up to this moment in time.
We're getting close.
There's been a countdown clock the whole time on the screen. Every time they bring it up, it's like that annoying friend who's like, we'll be there in 5 minutes. We'll be there in 4 minutes. We'll be there in 2 minutes.
It was weird. Like, I made a note about that clock where it sort of added this like sense of legitimate urgency to the whole thing, which sort of made it more absurd. It's like, oh, here's a countdown clock to the moment when Ernest is the first person to go, and you're like, oh, this is dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool at the same time.
For me, it was like, now I know how much time is left in this special.
Yeah.
That brings up a good question, which we might want to address after we go through the whole thing. How aware is this, for lack of a better term, movie of how ridiculous this whole thing is?
I feel like Ernest is very self-aware.
Yeah.
I mean, he uses the term flumer zoomer like 5 times in the thing. And I kind of loved it. And then he used it and used it and used it. And like, I hate it now.
I feel like in watching, a lot of what he says is improvised. That's the impression I got.
I agree. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is this like a Freddy Got Fingered situation where it's like intended to be as obnoxious as it is, but like in a very real way where it's just like, no, I am actually intentionally making you feel this thing. And that's the humor, is that I made this thing to make you feel this way about it.
Here's what I got out of it. And I guess we're in it. Well, let's talk about it now. It felt very segmented, where the parts with Ernest were very Ernest. It was very on brand. The parts with Disney stuff was someone within Disney trying to have an original thought and matching the vibes. And they sort of did a good job, but it came off as campy, where Ernest just came off as, sort of bumbling, self-important. And it sort of matched up, but not really.
I totally see that.
For me, it was very much like we have 2 producers, and hopefully the project will come together in editing.
Right.
Yes. They were definitely done independent of each other. There's no doubt.
I just really like how much he evolved the character after taking it from his one-man show, The Importance of Being.
No.
That was the 10th thing he was going to make, but he died.
Right.
Oh God.
I also like that the mics had Splash Mountain Network on them.
Oh yeah.
Which is the short-lived Splash Mountain News Network.
Yeah.
What else would they report about? Half goes missing.
Yeah. I think they would have 2 news stories. This and then the closing.
This famously, the network lasted 22 minutes.
Another photo has been removed from.
That's right. Somebody else showed the boobs. All right. So, Taryn, we're back with Ernest. He's now here to collect Vern. He pulls up in his 1989 Chevy Cavalier. I think that's what it was. And he's here to collect.
I smell a sponsorship.
And he reminds us that he's going to be his first, the world's first splashtronaut. However, Ernest left the car in neutral. And as he's talking to Vern about their trip to Disneyland, again, somewhere in the South, he left it in neutral, and the car rolls into Vern's kitchen.
Oh, no.
Now, we don't see the actual collision into the kitchen.
The training kitchen?
Oh, fair. Yeah.
No,
it
we're no
must not
longer
be
at the
unless he
training.
holds it at his house.
Yeah, we're not at the training center anymore because Ernest is there to pick him up from his house.
All right. Okay. So
Which
the training center is separate then.
It is a separate facility.
Okay, got it.
I don't know. I feel like anybody in the South who has a business, it's a home-based business like that.
But it's
I feel
not
like
really in the South, is it? It's supposed to be Southern
It's
California.
supposed to be nearby Disneyland, but that's
Is
just
it
not
supposed
possible.
to be nearby? I didn't really get that impression.
Well, how is Ernest going to be there in mere moments, and then we cut to him live at the thing?
Teleportation,
man.
Jimmy. Duh.
Movie magic. I mean, you know, how does Batman develop all his cool things?
Teleportation. I'm telling you.
All right. Anyway, so
Alfred.
That's Alfred. Really is the answer to the question, and a lot of
Do
money.
you know where the soldering iron is?
Yes, Master.
So we go back to News Central. We're the Splash Mountain News Central. Ernest has now arrived.
Alfred, go fight crime for me.
Certainly, Master Wayne.
I feel bad for Jimmy.
Yeah, this is the show.
This is the show.
I feel bad for Jimmy.
Okay. I don't feel bad for Jimmy anymore.
Thank you. That's also the show. All right. So Ernest has now arrived at Disneyland, everybody.
Yay.
And they announced that he's arrived at Disneyland and he's making his way down Main Street. Okay. He's on
downtown
people's shoulders, Taryn, like a king would be carried on a chair.
Lovely.
Right? Huge crowd carrying him down Main Street. Okay.
I would have loved to be at the
he
park for
deserves
this. I would have loved to be there.
He's a hero.
They all have signs. They have these horrific Ernest faces that have his eyes cut out. So as they move around, the background changes and he has these like glowing eyeballs. Yeah.
Oh man, you had a better quality version than I did. I didn't notice.
So in this thing, so Taryn, they say he's entered Disneyland and he's coming down Main Street. You've been to Disneyland before.
I have, yes.
I will get back to the thing, but skipping ahead, he addresses Vern in the camera, whose kitchen had just been destroyed by a car.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Vern, I've been to Frontierland and Tomorrowland and Adventureland. And I'm like, how's it possible? You just got in here going down Main Street.
I think this further speaks to my teleportation theory.
Could be.
Or multiple Ernest theory.
Oh, God.
As I like to call it. There's more than one of them.
Maybe he's living all of his 9 lives at the same time.
Well, here's his interview on Main Street. Let's
Absolute chaos here as all his fans have come out to wish him well. I'm going to try to fight my way through that crowd to get a word with our man of the hour.
Just sit me down anywhere.
And they drop him on his face.
Mr. Worrell? Mr. Worrell.
Oh, you can call me Ernest or Knucklehead or Big Guy.
Okay, Knucklehead. Tell me, are you ready for this historic moment?
Yeah, what's it going to be?
The ride, Splash Mountain.
Oh, yeah. I'm practiced and rehearsed, and now I am a mean, lean, flume zooming machine. Know what I mean?
Well, how does it feel to be the first person to actually ride this awesome mountain?
Piece of cake. You show me the mountain, I'll ride it.
Now tell me, is your famous friend Vern here today?
No, Vern couldn't make it today. Somebody foolishly drove a car into his kitchen, so he had to stay and clean up. But he's got a nice TV with a little screen, and he's watching. Hey, Vern. Vern, I haven't seen the mouse yet, but I've seen Adventureland and Fantasyland and Frontierland. Vern, you'd love it. You ought to be here.
foolishly drove a car through his kitchen.
Well, see, and Jimmy, he only said he saw them. So, yeah. I mean,
he is in the hub at that point.
He maybe didn't experience them yet.
That's a good point. And he hasn't seen the mouse. Although Bear Fox, Bear Bear, and Bear Rabbit are there.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe this was the Disney's subtle way of having him point out the brilliance of the hub system so that he can have seen all of these things. And he's projecting that Toontown will be built someday.
So
why do they call them? Sorry, Jimmy. Why do they call them Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and Brer Bear? Is that how you're supposed to eat them? Brer?
Well, Brer Audrey, I don't know. Everything is Brer or something though. There's Brer Frog.
It's brother. It's a short name for brother.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, okay.
So you're Brer.
Thanks, Eric.
You're Brer Audrey.
I'm Sis Audrey.
Sarah?
Because
Sarah, probably Sarah.
Sister Sarah. Sarah Audrey.
Means
Yeah.
brother?
Yeah, it's like short. It's like BR apostrophe ER or something like that. Prayer.
I always used to think it was Briar. It would, like everybody was Briar.
That's
But
what I thought too.
Because they live in
Briar
Briar.
Patch.
Well, yeah, they're from the Briar Patch, which is where all the brothers come from.
Is that the Brothers Patch?
It's the Brothers Patch. It's like Cabbage Patch Kids.
It's called the
Okay.
Soul Patch.
Oh, now we're just all right. So Jason, thank you for having the audio, by the way, because I wrote every word of that interview down. So thank you for that.
And there's a whole thing that we can do is playing clips of stuff. It's great.
I love that. Hey, man, we should have talked before. Anyway, so Ernest then
practice for you.
He enters the queue. He enters with a hero's welcome. Everybody's cheering, the aforementioned signs, etc.
Sure.
Unless Jason, you have this interview, the interviewer, I think this is Skip. Is it Skip at this point? No, it's Cameron at this point. Asks Ernest if he has any last minute thoughts. Do you have this?
Yeah, I can find that.
Well, you don't have to.
Huh?
But Ernest says he had a thought, but stopped thinking about it at the last minute. Okay.
Classic.
And then my second favorite joke in the whole special is he's ready to ride. And as you know, Taryn, this ride is a log flume.
Uh-huh.
And so he says, "Call me a log." And the audience says, "You're a log."
That's so stupid.
It is so stupid.
It's so good.
Ernest is just dad jokes with injuries. That's basically all.
That's right.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well
So
done.
this is an audience. This is a bunch of actors that they hired, right? And they filmed
Extras,
this
yeah.
before the park was opened or after it closed. Like it wasn't.
I feel like a lot of it was
People,
like
right?
audience people. I think it was like real people.
Well, it probably, but like, were they park goers or were they friends and family of Imagineers?
I think that's the most likely scenario. Friends and family.
I would imagine in my head canon, it was people who lined up to be the first on the ride, and then got to do this. You know?
And they had to sit through all of this first.
Yeah, we're like, look, we got a couple hours. So it's like when you go and they're like shooting the Christmas special or whatever. It's like, okay, you stay here and you hang out. You're part of the
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because people are too, I was making notes about like the fashion of the day. And there's people that are very much like tucked in tight t-shirts into shorts and being a dad and very, very colorful sweaters. And you can't really get a beat if it's hot or if it's cold because people are very, clothing weird about it. And I don't know, it just seemed more realistically average than a production.
Like I think some of it was produced, and then other parts of it was what you just described. It was like random people who happened to be in the right place at the right time and got to see this news thing going on.
I'm just comforted by the reality that if something like this were to be made now and they had regular park goers in that scene, we would have known because like half of them would have been wearing most expensive day ever t-shirts.
What's your other favorite t-shirts to see in the park, Stan?
I don't know how to proceed with that question.
All right, so we're almost there, guys. So Ernest falls into the boat head first. He trips and falls into the boat head first. They pick him up, put him back in. He starts the ride. He is very confident. He's done a lot of training at the Daredevil training facility. He is very confident, so much so he puts his feet up in the log.
Yeah, gives a little wave and he's out.
Yep.
Very unsafe.
Yep. Now,
You know what, Eric? That is an interesting point because it is very unsafe. And it's funny that this is part of their like promotional thing and they're showing somebody do something that they definitely should not be doing.
Right. I thought that too. Next time.
Hands and arms inside.
Like Ernest did this.
Holy Ernest.
Yeah.
I think that this actually was not produced by Disney. I think it was just sort of licensed by, like they put a stamp on it. I really don't think this is Disney produced, but anyway.
It was Eisner Times, though. You never really know.
That is true. Barely, though.
Eisner was,
I think, Breck
more willing
to
yeah, Breck was the director. Eisner was more willing to do that kind of stuff. It's just like, wouldn't it be funny?
Weird. He's
yeah.
weirdo.
I mean, you wouldn't get away with it now, but I also feel like it plays into the Ernest character. So I would imagine there were some conversations behind the scenes of like, look, you're not going to like the things that we're going to do, but Ernest would be doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how many people watch this go, oh, I want to go on that ride now, and go and like, I'm putting my feet up. Ernest did it. By the way, this special came out in August of 1989. The ride opened July 17th, 1989, but that's beside the point.
I was definitely conceived then.
Okay.
Confirmed.
Congratulations.
So Ernest conceived you on this ride.
Oh, wait, no. Math. I'm an idiot.
Okay.
Never mind. Back to business.
So the first thing he sees is a show scene with animatronics and everything. He's very excited about these animatronics. He has yet to go on the first drop. Fans of the ride know that you do not see an animatronic or show scene until after the first drop.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa.
False
More
advertising.
false advertising.
Yes. He has his first drop. He goes on it twice somehow.
Hold on. Do you think that they did that on purpose so that to like trick the audience when they actually go on it?
I think what it is like, oh, what a nice relaxing boat ride. How fun. There's characters and whatnot. Then there's a drop. I think that was the idea.
Yeah.
So just for viewers and this, I don't know. Anyway, so at the end of the first drop, they show it a couple of times. I don't know exactly what he's doing. He's pulling on a rope at one point while he's going down the drop.
It's like he's tying himself to the
oh, is that what it is? Okay.
That's what I got out of it. Yeah.
And now Skip, our buddy who dropped the clipboard in the 500,000 gallons of water, is standing on the edge of the flume, waiting for Ernest to come by. And he has a very Ernest.
Also unsafe, by the way.
Yes. He has an Ernest with an A moment where he's just thanking the audience and being a part of this moment in history and how grateful he is while he's waiting for Ernest to come by. While he's giving his speech about how grateful he is to be a part of this, Ernest comes by after having gone down the first drop. He's wearing an oxygen mask.
Which is very funny.
It's very funny. Anyway, so Skip misses him coming by. And then he's so, all right. So he's so panicked by this first drop, right? And then the rest of the ride is just kind of, they don't show it, right? They kind of cut back and forth and little one-liners and whatnot.
Because it's
and then
boring.
he's going up. He's going up the final hill. And remember, he wore an oxygen mask after this first hill. He is now so at ease that he says he wished he brought a book.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
I think it's classic Ernest.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, you're
Sure.
over the thing. Now I'm just like chilled out.
And then when he goes down the big drop, first of all, at the beginning of the big drop, he says, the air's getting thin up here. And then he goes down. At one point, he gets electrocuted and his hair is lit up.
Was a weird sequence where it was almost
Very weird.
Like,
it was sped up.
Yeah. It's like he was just getting freaked out and almost like he was taken to the netherworld.
I think it might have been implying that he was seeing his life flash before his eyes.
That's what I got. Because part of that sequence was all the stuff that he had already seen.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to point out, as Jimmy, as you were describing that, it tickled me very much that it's impossible to refer to anything as the big drop without sounding like you are a child, any of us, because it's the most appropriate, most fitting way to call it. It is, in fact, the big drop. But
you know, seeing it again just now, he's not electrocuted. It's his hair. He's so scared.
Yeah, I kind of expected him.
White. It turns white.
Shocked.
He's just like, ah, yeah.
I expected him to round the last corner and get out of the boat, and he would have white hair, but they didn't go for that show.
That would have been better. Yeah. So basically, the film speeds up. He spins around. Light flashes before his eyes. Whatever the case may be, that is the end of what we see of the ride, Taryn. So at this point, all we've seen of this ride, a show scene with some animatronics. First drop, second drop. That's it.
That's the ride, basically.
Yeah. What's there in the ride?
Yeah. So then he finishes the ride, and the news anchor or the field person says, we hope we haven't seen the demise of the world's first splastronaut. So they're hoping he has not died.
Okay.
Okay. This is a promotional film. This new ride.
It's like at the end of Fantasmic where you think Mickey Mouse might have actually exploded himself.
You can only here's the moment.
Well, I don't know, Skip. It's hard to tell. There doesn't seem to be any sign of recovery.
Oh, no. Well, I hope we haven't witnessed the demise of America's first splastronaut.
Wait a minute, Skip. I think I see something coming. Wait a minute. I think I see something, Skip. It's the Lord. Yes, it's him. It's him. I see it.
Thank you. Man, I should have asked you questions.
I'm going to say possibly one of the most nerdy things about this relating to our other show, The Supreme Resort. I believe this was a reference to how, and I want to point out, I know that this is ridiculous, but I mean it sincerely. So we're in that territory. They talked about when this ride initially opened, how it's a feature of it that you go down the big drop, as they say, and it's not entirely clear from the outside where you go. And this moment, I think, plays on that, where it's like, all we know is we don't know where he went. All we know is he went down the drop, which adds to the argument that the Walt Disney World version is missing that element.
We're not going back to that episode.
Yeah, you can see him the whole way.
3 years ago.
That's a different show altogether.
I know. I'm sorry.
All right. So Ernest is tongue-tied at the end of the ride. He said he would recommend Splash Mountain to anyone. He says rides like Splash Mountain keep you young. And then he says, like blood transfusions, organ transplants, and cosmetic surgery.
He's ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Maybe Vern is his blood bag.
Yeah. More importantly, I want to bring up that since I just happen to have it paused right now, Skip's I want to say keyboard. The clipboard. Thank you. His clipboard is on Ernest's stomach. So Ernest comes in and he's laying down and he's holding onto the railings. And then of course he's holding on so tight that the joke is he rips them out.
Ripped them off.
Takes them off. But as he's laying there, the clipboard's on his.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I was so confused by the clipboard. I was like, what? Why does he have a clipboard? I thought he was like taking notes. I know. Well, now it's making sense, but.
Wow.
When you're a good enough storyteller, you know to resolve all the threads. It's almost like Chekhov's clipboard.
True.
A Mulligan?
Guffin.
Kyle McLaughlin.
McGonagall. MacGyver.
Kyle McGonagall.
It's a
MacGuffin.
MacGuffin. Thank you. All right, almost done. He feels great. He passes.
It's a shame
out.
none of us could think of the name of the kid from Home Alone.
Macaulay Culkin.
There it is. That's what we were trying to get to.
Okay.
I wonder if Asher's ever seen a Macaulay Culkin movie.
Oh, is Asher still awake?
Asher, come here for a second. No, over here, dummy. Come here.
Probably off skateboarding.
The drop on Splash Mountain was so big that I fell out. I'm glad they're changing it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're changing that part though, Asher. I feel like they're just changing the way it looks, not the way it
drop's still there. Yeah.
All right, literally. Time I rode Splash Mountain, my dad told stranger ladies to look at how wet his butt was for like 3 hours afterwards.
How wet his butt was?
How wet his butt was.
Is that how he met your new mom?
Yeah, I believe he met new mom through an agency.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've kind of pieced together based on various bits of information.
Bring a little of the EU over here. Yeah.
Okay. 2 sentences, guys. Here we go. So he says he feels great, passes out.
Is Jimmy just reassuring everyone that eventually the show ends?
This is a very astute assessment, Jason. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. We all can't wait when we listen.
It's a complimentary sort of feeling to what I love so much about the Tiki Room, which is that you see the different elements reveal themselves over time, and then at the end they sing a song telling you what you've just seen.
It's true. Jason, the Tiki Room is a show that was. Anyway, he passes out. Yeah. After he passes out, people walk over him. They walk on him on the way to the ride. So this hero's whatever is gone because they're just stepping on him now. And then the anchor, Mr. Story, says that this is in honor of, these are the exact words, in honor of his perseverance and self-denial. Can anybody explain that?
No.
I feel like
it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he couldn't smoke while he was riding it. So.
He kept his top on for the picture.
Yeah.
Self-denial.
Maybe it was a reference. Maybe it was like a off-script moment where he was acknowledging that Jim Varney probably was jonesing for a smoke the whole time.
Self-denial, like the river denial, because he wrote a river.
River, Splash Mountain. I got it.
It's a Jungle Cruise reference. There we go.
Anyway, that's the end of the special, everybody. And we're going to watch this. While we're watching it, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a beer.
Oh.
You know what it's going to be?
No.
It's going to be the Zippity Doodah Ale from Smashington Hill Brewing Company.
Stop it. That's not a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Are you serious?
It is it's a farmhouse ale saison. It's 9% alcohol by volume.
That is very high alcohol.
It is. You have to watch this. It's a strong Belgian saison brewed with fresh lemon zest and grated ginger. Sriracha Ace hops are used to further enhance the lemon character.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to drink.
All right,
Audrey, what are we going to eat?
Ginger.
Well, Ernest seems like a meat and potatoes kind of guy to me, and because he's a splastronaut, that sounds a whole lot like the word astronaut. So I'm like, boom, space food, but splash food. So it was either food that tastes good while it's wet, or food that can be hydrated using Splash Mountain water. So I think we're going to go
purchase on eBay, by the way, for $5,000.
Instant mashed potatoes, like a MRE of roast beef or like pot roast or something, and then for dessert, maybe just some Tang and like space ice cream.
Maybe just some Tang.
It's just rehydrated powdered tobacco. You could just drink it.
In honor of Jim Varney. Yeah,
that's right.
Good news, cigarette juice.
Did you see cigarette juice?
Oh God.
Cigarette juice.
Dan, what are we listening to?
Before I actually play the music, I want to give some context here. I understand that people are upset that one of their favorite rides is changing. I get that. We may or may not share the same point of view on that. That's fine. I can relate to that feeling is my main point. And this mainly goes out to the people of Florida who might be able to get something illustrative out of this. Imagine Tomorrowland and imagine how many things used to be there. And or actually even just imagine your own Tomorrowland if you're a Florida listener and go to Disney World. Imagine that they were to say, hey, I have an idea. Let's shut down major rides and close them forever in order to make the People Mover go fast. Like we're going to take, so in California, we had something called Circle Vision. You might remember it. It was a wonderful little place that you can go and watch the movie that was on screens all around you and felt like you were about to vomit. It was wonderful. And it was one of the air conditioning in there was amazing. So they closed that and they also shut down the People Mover and they also shut down the rocket jets, which used to be on top of People Mover, and they moved it down to the front. They moved it essentially to Main Street in order to build a little thing we call Rocket Rods. Now, Rocket Rods was open for about maybe 5 days. I don't know exactly. And it destroyed it itself. Oh no, that's Jimmy's music.
But same energy. If someone's getting long-winded, just play that song.
Well, yeah, basically.
Get to the point.
No, have you not listened to the show? Anyway, Jason, please play my musical selection.
Hold on, I don't want to download it.
You certainly don't.
Be on some sort of list.
Now, this is the music from Rocket Rods. I want you to take everything that I just said, and if any part of you said, I can't wait to ride this new ride, listen to this music and just take in how wrong you were. Especially take in that this not only took your Tomorrowland from you, and this progressively destroyed the track that it was on over time.
It's a very dark.
Oh yeah,
song.
Yeah, and Dan, I'm having a hard time connecting this to the movie.
So is Dan.
So basically,
he's trying.
I know. I just want to share. If anyone is upset that the ride that they once loved called Splash Mountain is no longer Splash Mountain, at least you still have a functional track.
Okay.
D23. They might announce it.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Splash Mountain. Nobody cares. Like, truly, honestly, no one cares because the ride is fundamentally the same. Right. And I've seen the ride through at Disney World. It looks great. It looks really cool. There's a lot of colors and there's a lot that's weird with it, but a lot of it it's arguably an improvement. But if the ride fundamentally is the same, you still have the drop. Who cares? Nobody goes and rides that ride and go, you know what I want to see is the bear's, butt being lowered into the water or whatever. Nobody cares about it. I mean, maybe the America Sings, animatronics at the end. That's kind of fun on the showboat, right? Yeah. Other than that, it's just who cares? It doesn't matter. There's no. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The point of the ride is you're cruising around and then you get the drop. That's the point of the ride.
Right. Yep. Well, and I think it's kind of the same as Tower of Terror / Guardians, where everyone was really mad, and then it's kind of a better ride now.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the same exact ride, but kind of a little better.
Oh well, listener, Audrey is shaking her head.
Yeah, I guess because ow. Sorry. A lot of things are happening. I just nailed myself in the elbow and
because
I'm struggling.
You're related to Ernest. It confirms
the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. Like, yes, the ride is still physically the same, but like ship's paradox, maybe it's not the same. No, forget that ship's paradox part.
That ship is
like the ship has sunk. Yeah, I don't know. If you had the option between the two rides, like I'm not doing a good job here.
I haven't ridden the new one yet, but I don't think I would care.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like Casey Jr. I like that ride. I don't really care what the cars are themed. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't go on I think there's some rides that you go on for the experience of the ride. And others you go on for the theming because the ride inherently kind of sucks. I mean, Haunted Mansion is a case in point. Yeah. There's nothing fancy to that ride, but you go there because it's a cool, it's a vibe, it's a whole thing, right? The history is there, all this kind of stuff. Pirates kind
You're saying that those rides, like, you cannot separate the theming from the ride itself.
Yeah,
they're too intertwined.
Well, maybe
I think Haunted Mansion is the theming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 6 months out of the year. The other time it's not.
Yeah, Splash Mountain is, and I'm going to go back to my point too. With Tower of Terror, both of those rides, it's the drop. That's the ride. So I don't think it matters which theme. And to Audrey's point, if you were to pick which one you want, I honestly, and I'm kind of surprised I'm saying this, but like for Tower, I would pick Guardians. I think it's more fun. Line wise, I'd rather stand in the line for Tower of Terror, but riding the ride, I'd rather ride Guardians. For Splash Mountain, of course, I have not ridden Tiana's yet, but I have a feeling. Actually, I probably won't even ride it because I don't like Splash Mountain. I do not like that. I don't like that ride. I hate being wet the rest of the day. Yeah. There is no redeeming thing about that ride, but maybe Tiana would be. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That's my take.
Perhaps in true Disneyland fashion, they do a Brer Rabbit overlay for the holidays.
Or the Tiki Room.
Oh, of course.
I think where I've come with, as far as the the social need to change it, I think what I've come to, and I realize that I might come off a certain way, but where I've come with this is it's almost like the Main Street Native American figure, the wooden Indian guy that's on Main Street. Yeah. It's like, and we've talked about this on the shows before, where it's just like, okay, if they were to remove that, I would completely understand why. But at no point am I like, why is this Indian still here? You know, because I'm able to contextualize it. At the same time, if it were to open, if Disneyland were to reopen and it were never there, I don't think any reasonable person would be like, why isn't there a wooden Indian?
That's a good point.
How else would I remember where the cigar store was?
You know what I mean? Like, it's there's a way that I think people can look at it, even by keeping whatever it is that your inclination of, if you're going to say, quote, pick a side in terms of whether it should change or not, you could still have sort of an inclination towards either direction, but at the end of the day, be able to say, like, it wasn't an urgent thing, but I do kind of at least understand maybe where the change comes from, even if I don't necessarily agree that it needed to happen.
Well, here's my stance. This park, you know, to Walt Disney's point, just paraphrasing, it'll never be complete, et cetera, et cetera. When a child, and, you know, we bring our kids will hopefully bring their kids, et cetera. When a child goes on Pirates of the Caribbean, only having known these famous movies, multi-billion-dollar franchise, if a child goes on Pirates of the Caribbean and there's no Jack Sparrow, like, what are we doing? Like, where's Jack Sparrow? That's Pirates of the Caribbean. When a child similarly would go on Splash Mountain, it's like, who are these people? Right. What are they doing here? So why not introduce a character or characters that are relevant to this generation?
Sure.
And to that point, eventually, you know, our generation gets aged out, and then who goes on that ride? Who cares if it's like, Alice is probably never going to see Song of the South. So by the time she's an adult with children, why would she go on that ride?
Because of the splash, because of the log flume. That's why you go, right? To your
Flumer Zoomer.
Flumer Zoomer. I'm going to be a Flumer Zoomer. Asher, what do you think about it?
My PE teacher has a really funny video on his phone of his son beating up Piglet at Disneyland.
All right.
Asher, that's...
I'm worried about the adults in Asher's
always sounds like relevant information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's 10 years old.
Anyway,
what
Jason,
drugs are we taking?
Oh, that's right.
That's right, Eric. What drugs are we going to have?
Hey, you know what? If you're a little bit squeamish about going on a ride with a long drop at the end, maybe you get a little nauseous, maybe you're just a little nervous, you can take yourself some Dramamine beforehand. That's the generic name Diamond Hydronate. It's an old school antiemetic. It really kind of does the trick as far as nausea is concerned. But watch out for the side effects. It'll give you a dry mouth, dry eyes, could make you drowsy. So don't operate heavy machinery after that. Maybe if you have a couple beers later on, you want to watch out. Just because adding that together, not a great situation. Yeah. But you are going down a log flume. So if you get a little too dry mouth, just stick your hand over the edge and slosh some of that water right into your face.
Are you implying... And Eric, are you implying that if you were to take Dramamine and then drink a beer, you would be introducing a log flume scenario into your own life?
Oh.
Oh my.
And of course, don't take Dramamine if you're allergic to Dramamine.
Or just
Yeah.
for the dry mouth and dry eyes, just keep your mouth open, your eyes open while you're on the ride.
And keep your hands and
Boom,
arms
problem
inside.
solved.
Yeah.
Keep your
All right. Well, thank you
That's our
guys
show.
for coming on the show and participating and letting us know about the first Flumer Zoomer in Splash Mountain history.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm told to play this music.
Oh,
That's for Jimmy's plugs. If you want to do his plugs. Or if you want to do plugs. Were you aware, Jason, that this music existed?
Yeah, this is the Splash Mountain rap, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's our show, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you are going to the parks at all, if you're going to go on a cruise or whatever, contact Conti Ears. You go to ContiEars.com. Don't ask for Jimmy because he will never leave you alone. He will try to move in while you are gone. He's a squatter. He will move in, claim squatters' rights while you're gone, and strengthen his empire and his hold across the southern part of the United States.
He'll turn your home into an Airbnb.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, and don't forget to check out Scraping the Vault, which is you can go on our website and learn about it. You can wherever you find your classically hilarious and awesome and not long-winded podcast. Like this one.
Oh, you lost me.
Scraping the Vault as well. All right, thank you very much, everybody, and until next time, we'll see you. I love exiting music on the screens.
What?